Conflict between House Steiner and House Davion rages on.
Was it smart for the Archon to hire mercenaries to deal with the bandit army on Carver 5?
Kelly knows that once the bandits are dealt with, the mercenaries will pull out.
Hello and welcome everyone to the First Second Podcast, episode number 9000. Today I am your host with two co-hosts, Aether Mech.
Hey.
And Ian.
Hello.
Today we will be covering the PTS, the upcoming patch, the new mech that's come out, and also another sale, I think. So, what shall we get started with? Perhaps the PTS?
I do love the silence.
I was prompting someone else to respond.
Okay.
I hope.
PTS. Let me respond real quick with the usual facts. Public test service server is up. You can currently until Monday noon join and play in 4v4 mode. It's the usual PTS stuff to test out the lasered balance changes thingy that were discussed at some point earlier in this podcast. If you do so, and you happen to play 10 matches, you get 2 million C-bills and a unique warhorn in your regular server main account. Which is cool, I guess. Spider, have you played a lot?
Yeah, I think you and I have at least played the PTS. I'm not sure, I don't think Aether Mech has.
I have just finished updating it. I have not actually played in it yet.
Yeah, I would say on the getting 2 million C-bills and unique warhorn, it is good that they finally are actually giving an incentive for people to hop over. If you feel like playing MWO, it always feels a bit bad hopping on the PTS. Even if you're doing them a favor, you're not getting much in return, or at least you didn't get anything in return before. Now there is at least a reason to play a couple of games. Otherwise, I would say, I mean, it's only 4v4s because obviously the size of the player base is a lot smaller on the PTS, and I was a little curious about how much useful data you can actually get from this, because it's kind of like scouting, but with bigger mechs. Typically, the bigger mechs obviously win. So it's 4v4 scouting, but with assault mechs.
And regarding data, the other thing is obviously, since they are testing new stuff, obviously everyone's gonna play the new stuff, so PGI doesn't really get data about how the new stuff performs in regards to stuff that wasn't changed, and so on and so forth. I just had a very much violent discussion with about that one on the PTS like an hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, at least I did have some salt also on the PTS. That was because there was a Viper who charged into the lance of assault mechs, and he was whining at me because I'm a Hellbringer providing fire from on top of a hill. He's like, "Come on, join the brawl with me!" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not jumping into the middle of all the enemy assault mechs. I'm going to, poke and trade and do a bunch of damage each time." And at the end of the match, he's still whining about it. He did some 150 damage. I did 600. I did the whole rest of my team combined, but he was still complaining of the fact that I was on top of a hill. So that's just, people get salty because people get salty. I don't know, get why though. In this, in 4v4 meta, this is the time to take out the Viper, the 4 medium pulse Viper. This is your time to shine.
Obviously.
Yeah, poor life choices notwithstanding.
Yeah. Nonetheless, at least, because it's 4v4 scouting, it's much more, it can tend to get a little brawly, or if you're that large laser sniper Arctic cheetah, you can kite the enemy for quite a lot of the match and just, burn them down, just like as you could do in scouting. And if you take a kind of, supporty mid-rangey build, kind of like a clan laser vomit mech, you might find people are going to just push you in, and you're not going to be able to, hold up, under pressure. So I saw a lot of people, at least, there was one match I was really annoyed at. I got 1,000 damage. I killed 3 mechs and almost killed the 4th one, single-handed, but of course. But the last one I was fighting against was the Highlander 2C hero, he took SRM-24 and 2 LP-20s. That was very mean, very punishing up close to my little Helmbringer. I mean, that is totally the mech to take in 4v4 with all the assaults and stuff. That's a good alpha strike, tons of armor. But I'm a laser bombic mech. I did enough, guys. Please.
Public test server.
Yeah. I did use the classic laser vomit stuff. It worked out fairly well. The problem was, at least, it's only 4v4, so you don't get the time to get your damage in. Not always, at least. I just went with 6 medium pulse lasers on the Hellbringer, and whilst the medium pulse lasers aren't as good as they used to be, it still wrecked a lot of face.
I'll have to fire up the PTS and load in the Kodiak 5 and laser boat for a while and see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's just at least if it gets stuck in the brawl, which often quite happened, I'm still using the laser weapons, but I'm not getting horribly outdueled by that damn super brawly mechs who finally have a chance to shine. What did you do, Ian, for your matches on the PTS?
Well, let me tell you a story. No, actually, I just jumped in with the first mech that was auto-selected by the game, which was the LRM Novacat. Then I got horribly flamed at, so obviously I continued to play LRM mechs.
Alright. Bring some cancer to the game. I mean, the thing is, at least, it might be relatively easy to rush in on you because you haven't got so many teammates that guard you. But if they let you do it...
Oh no, I am totally not saying LM is a good idea in 4v4. It's garbage. Like, my top damage was around 500 most of the time. But it's fun. It's fun to see the rage.
Did any of you guys see or hear about the issues on the PTS? Like the glitches?
I heard about them, haven't encountered them.
So apparently, at least some people are reporting on conquest matches, you kill all the enemy 4 mechs, you flip the cap points, and you have to wait until you get 750 score. Because
they haven't fixed that yet?
The trigger for victory is when all 12 mechs are destroyed, and then it checks if, you're going to win by caps.
Oh boy.
Oh, that was an issue like 3 public tests ago. They still haven't fixed that?
I don't know how pervasive it was. I forget if I went to the conquest match. I at least didn't come across the problem. It's just something I've seen or heard talked about.
Also, apparently there were some, with the ghost heat changes, there were some issues there apparently. But again, I haven't encountered them.
Yeah, some people, I think the heat bar is a little bit off with this one. Some are reporting it as you fire an alpha strike and then you get a huge amount of dissipation and then it goes back to very slow speed. What I think's going on now, this is just a hunch, but imagine if you say you fire 5 lasers and they each do 5 heat each, it does 25 heat. But now they each do 4 heat, so it shows you going up to what would be 25 heat, and now it's going, and then it quickly remembers, oh wait, it's actually 20 heat, and it quickly goes back down to the place where it should be. Because I've also seen people report stuff like they go over the 100%, quote unquote. They're over 100%, but they take no internal damage. Why is that? Well, it's because it might be that little bar is being told the old numbers, your heat bar, and therefore it takes a moment to catch up with your actual heat state.
Oh, I want this to be a feature.
I mean, it gives an element of mystery to how much heat your mech initially generates, because obviously it takes a quarter of a second to go back to where it should actually be, and you get times where you quote unquote overheat, but you do no damage to yourself. It is actually kind of interesting, like that error, that margin of error, rather than it being always a perfect representation. But yeah, that was just a very unfortunate bug for a PTS that's supposed to be testing laser vomit.
Yeah. OPGI, don't change.
I mean, please change, at least in some regards.
All right, so I mean, we've already discussed at least in previous podcasts about the balance changes, and we got plenty to cover with the upcoming patch. But for the most part, I don't know. I'm not much of a clan laser guy. I didn't like clan lasers in the first place. They were already a bit hotter and such before, and they still could do quite a bit of work. But they are certainly less effective than they were before. And instead of using heavy larges, you use just regular larges with mediums because they now sync much better this time with these proposed changes.
Well, there's a reason you're a ship computer, you know the numbers. I just know that I kind of like the direction, so I'm happy with the changes.
It'll be interesting to see how much further they try to tinker with the lasers, or what the actual data from this test is going to provide.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because it's just, yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan necessarily of them being nerfed. I think, obviously, the heat mechanics and making them actually balance out the game more effectively would be my solution, rather than just knocking down the ones that have the most benefits from the benefits of the heat system.
Yeah.
So let's move on to maybe our small little topic with the sale.
I really like this sale. So it's called Alpha Strike Sale, Amazing Deals on Classic Mechs Design. With the subtitle, once you see these deals, they can't be unseen. So obviously the title this sale should have had is the FU Harmony Gold sale. Because that's exactly what it is. 30% on mech packs and gift codes for the unseen. Phoenix Hawk, Archer Rifle, and Warhammer Water Mauder to see.
This also includes, though, the MC and C-bill price in-game, if I'm not mistaken.
Does it?
It does, and they're also throwing in bonus rewards for buying stuff. If you buy 25,000 MC, you get a Marauder Bounty Hunter and a Mech Bay. If you buy 12,000 MC, you get a Rifleman Legend Killer. For 6.5, you get the Phoenix Hawk Rock. And then at 3,000, you get G Experience and more C-bills.
It's the usual get extra stuff with your MC deals, which we usually aren't too enthused about.
Yeah, not really. But I do like the 50% off MC and C-bill price for the unseen. So that is pretty cool.
Ooh, if you give MC gifts, you get different heroes. You can get a Black Widow, a Tempest, or the other Phoenix Hawk hero.
It should also be mentioned, so in-store, 50% off C-bill prices. So if you want to buy Phoenix Hawk, all these unseen mechs, you can do so. The sale lasts till Friday of the week that this podcast comes up. They also do 50% off permanent patterns for these mechs. So if you really want to buy the Buccaneer pattern for these mechs, it's the time to do so. There's rarely permanent pattern sales for mechs. So for those who buy them, there's
a good reason though. One-shot patterns are just so much cheaper, and you're not likely to change your pattern every other day. So I still recommend not buying a permanent pattern. Just saying.
It's just one last thing, because those two are buried right at the bottom. But those are the things that more interested me than the mech packs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially the C-bill price knockoff for the unseen mechs. I think I own all of them, but there are a lot of good mechs in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun mechs to be had in the collection. All right, let's move on to the big topic for today: the patch notes for what day is it coming out? Tuesday? I think it usually is a Tuesday.
Yeah, July 17th.
Are we doing those first? All right.
They're releasing the Hellfire, which is kind of a, I don't know, walking side torso-ish mech.
It's a giant blob of a torso. They've also done, of course, with any new mech release, there's a countdown, so you get to see the Hellfire, its quirks, and its size comparisons to other mechs. At least side by side with the Mad Dog, it doesn't look too bad. It is quite a big blob of a torso, though, with these little giant arms to the sides. Thing to at least remember with the Hellfire is it does have Misc, but the same agility, it seems, as the Mad Dog. So Just like with the Mad Dog, you can kind of shield. You could probably do that with a Hellfire, but it's obviously not the best in terms of hard points. You don't want to be front line with this thing. Who here is picking up the Hellfire?
Nope, pass for me.
I'm pretty sure I skipped this one. I might not have. I haven't checked my purchases in the last couple of months.
Wow.
All right, I am picking up the Hellfire just because I always at least want to try out the Mask mix, because Mask brings a lot of interesting opportunities to the table. But for anyone who's not in the full know about the Hellfire, it's a 60-ton clan battle mech. It's typically got a whole mix of, well, typically missile and energy, but it also has energy, ballistic, and a whole other bunch of things. I think with the most missile being the hero, typically.
The hero actually only has a couple missiles, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Most missile one
It
is in
has
the
one.
reinforcement pack.
All right, that does make a good change.
And I believe there's one in the basic pack
Oh, yeah,
that
there's
has
one in the
4
basic
missile
before
hard
as
points
well.
as well.
Yeah. So what's the hero bring again? I think it's all the different hard points together on one chassis.
Yeah,
Which,
2 ballistic,
reinforcement
5
does, I
energy, and a missile, and an AMS that no one but me will probably use.
Yeah. In terms of its model that they've shown off, the energy hard points on the left torso are huge.
It's like rifleman tubes. I wonder what they look like with PPCs.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, and that's just 2 heavy medium lasers, 2 tons of equipment for an even larger side torso profile from the side. So we'll have to wait and see how the Hellfire pans out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to basking around and having some shenanigans with this thing. Though it doesn't have much in the way of quirks. At best, there's 5% for range, heavy lasers, or 5% ATM heat reduction. Not much to speak of, really.
The hero does have UAC jam chance minus 10%, though.
Yeah, a very small little benefit, but it is there. Can do some maybe 2 UAC 10s slightly better than other clan mechs with Mask. That might be a thing. All right then, let's crack on with the other bits and pieces. Solaris. They don't list it in the top here, but one thing I think they said, what was it? There was a big change. I'll look for it later. Whilst that's it. You will not be able to do target spotted anymore. You can't use the command wheel in Solaris. I think at least I heard that was a thing that they're implementing.
Yeah, the command wheel has been removed in Solaris matches. I guess they don't like it tracking enemies through walls where we can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was kind of silly, at least since it's just sort of you see a little glance of them, you quickly use the radio menu and go, "Ha! I see you," and you use your Jedi prescience to keep track of their location. Very useful for hit and run, but obviously, very faithful to BattleTech law.
Obviously, yes. Have you checked out the Mech division changes yet?
I looked at the list, but I must be honest, at least it's hard to tell what things they have changed.
Yes.
And at least when they announced the change, it's like they said, it was last updated June 19th. And it's like, well, what has changed then, guys? We we can't see any differences, and it says it hasn't been updated in about a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all the Centurions except for the Yenlo Wang have now been moved to Division 6. So that means the Vindicator is now going to be almost uncontested at Division 7 as the top mech.
Well, in Division 7, there was only Yenlo Wang, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it was only
I think the NCIX was also in that division.
Yeah, the Centurion A. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I remember someone running like LB10 SRM18 on it. All right, yeah. I honestly haven't bothered. Yeah, I don't do much of Solaris, and I don't necessarily remember where all the mechs were and now where they've ended up. My biggest thing, they say, oh, we've changed where the mechs are, and I'm like, oh, okay. Have you changed the Vindicator 1R yet? Nope, still in Division 4.
They moved all the bushwhackers to Division 4 or higher now. There's no more of them hanging out in Divisions 5, so that's a different change.
Yeah.
And the Piranha as a group is still in Division 2 for some reason.
Oh well.
I was going to be moving mechs that are, quote unquote, at least according to PGA, overperforming, underperforming, whatever, up and down. I wish they were more specific in these updates.
Yeah, like at least make them yellow or something. Show us which one is moved. On the first glance, I see no movement, so yeah.
There's just so many variants and mechs out there. That list is huge.
Agreed.
Is the quick draw IV4 really performing good enough to be Division 1?
Probably not. In quick play, maybe.
In quick play, yeah, it's a very solid mech for 60 tons, and it is quite a beast, at least since it's got all the armor and the cooldown quirks and good agility. It having to go up against annihilators all the time, though, is another story. And even in Division 2, I wonder how well it would do against all the big guys.
But granted, like, there are a lot of things in those divisions that we don't agree with, so yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the mechs probably don't get played a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Division 1 as well, the Huntsmen are there.
Yeah, the Huntsman, the Victor in Division 1 is, in my opinion, way out of place. Stuff like
I can kind of agree with the Huntsman because you can load so many SRMs on it that it doesn't matter if you overheat. But against the 100-tonners, it kind of doesn't seem like a whole lot of reason for anything but 100-tonners to be, Division 1.
I mean, the thing with the Arctic Wolf battle mechs is you can way better, like, was it 7 missile hardpoints on the Arctic Wolf 1, and you can choose whatever engine, you can go pretty fast, pretty slow, whatever, and bring a lot of SRM power to the table anyway. But that's in Division 2.
Nope, it's in Division 1.
Oh,
Arctic
just
Wolf
the Arctic
1.
Wolf 1. Okay, so you could do that still with the Arctic Wolf 2 with its, what's it, like 5 for 6 missile hardpoints?
6, I believe.
Yeah, oh no, so slightly less. And after, we'll get onto this later, but they are going to change how that SRM6 spam kind of works. So that's even less of a valid argument going forward.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go forward in the patch notes. So,
alright.
I mean, we've got the bolt-ons. I don't think any of us really care about them too much.
Not much. I mean, they're always, at least they're adding more types of bolt-on stuff.
Yeah.
I never really look at what bolt-ons are available. One of the big things, at least, even if you sort of kind of liked bolt-ons, going through that list is a pain. It just does not sell your product very well. It's a bit like if you're scrolling through the list for decals. You could be there for months and not get through the list and remember it all. It's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
Though I am kind of interested to see what a chainsaw hand or a chainsaw forearm is going to look like on a mech.
I imagine it's going to look like Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, but it's like, what mechs do these model on? Do they just like add like a chainsaw, kind of tape, a piece of tape with a chainsaw teeth on the side onto the bottom of an arm, like for all the
That's
mechs?
what I would
the easy way
expect.
to do it
On the bottom of the arm.
Then what's a chainsaw quote unquote hand about? I guess you put it on the end of the fist.
Probably then. Oh well, we're gonna see when it comes out.
Yeah. We don't really care about the bolt-ons, so let's get on to the actual
let's get on to the
big story.
Stuff. Oh my.
The weapon balance changes.
So, real quick to talk about what's going on. The LRMs are being buffed again. Heat reduced across the board, spread is slightly increased on clan LRMs. Ida, talk to us.
Yep.
What does this mean?
It means that the LRM mechs have better ability to sustain. And this is a big thing, factor, particularly sometimes with those really large LRM mechs, where the ones where you just take a redunculous number of launches, because those ones, they fire a couple of volleys and then they get really super hot, and a cool shot or two can, help them out. But LRMs have suffered a bit from putting a lot of tonnage in to not get much damage out and not too much sustain. So now they are slightly improving the sustain of LRMs. LRMs aren't too popular a weapon system to have on your team or to fight against. At least, they are often maligned, and they've been the recipient of quite a few buffs recently already. They're getting more.
Yay! More LRMs to chase.
Hell yeah. Salt is going to be real. The flame is going to be real. The spam is going to be real. I look forward to this.
And light mix everywhere, rejoice.
Yeah, in terms of obviously the actual upfront damage of LRMs or whatnot, it's basically the same. It's only a matter of how much they can sustain. So sometimes if you were at an annihilator caught out in the open, you're going to be lermed for a minute or two, and the lerm boats start slowing down because they're getting rather sweaty by all the damage they're throwing away. Well, now they're not making so much sweat, and they'll be able to pound you even harder for those 2 minutes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, I might be an evil person. Just.
Yeah. The one thing, at least with the clan, they're getting kind of large-ish spread buffs. No, it's not too large, but the spread. How much does that even really affect the effectiveness of lerms? Because for the most part, they take off every hit point on that's available to the mech anyway.
Yeah, I guess it kind of matters when you're chasing down faster mechs. If the spread's bigger, you're gonna hit even less. But on stationary targets,
Well,
enough though, if you've got a locust, say, and it's darting, bobbing and weaving, you've got Artemis, Narc, and Tag on the target. It's right about to hit him, and he suddenly takes a turn. The whole cluster, the tight cluster that's going to take out his SCT, completely misses. Whereas sometimes actually having it more spread meant, you're just sort of raiding the area around them, and you're more reliably hitting the really teeny agile guys, just by the by.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the clan side at least, we see typically LRM5s and LRM10s taken in large numbers on most of the mechs, aside from some of the goofy heavies that pack on clan LRM 10 or 20s for some reason.
Well, I'm not sure.
Scorch.
That's old matter, at least. Ages ago, they changed how the ghost heat worked for LRMs, and they made it so larger LRMs have much better heat efficiency. So whenever I've seen LRM mechs, at least good ones, they are the ones taking the bigger launches because they have more missiles per volley, and because LRMs are slowly creeping up in the meta, people will be taking more AMS, which encourages larger launches. So actually, I don't see too much of the LRM5, LRM10 spam anymore because they're heat inefficient and they get shot down by the AMS. Usually an LRM5 spam mech is a really bad learn player. And that's saying something compared to the average learn player.
There's levels to learn player?
Yes. Obviously, at least for group queue, the funny thing is, at least in a lot of groups I drop with, we do lots of them like going towards cancer because, however good you are, at least some people go out get locks, and even a fairly below average player can hold locks and just spam lots of damage downrange, and therefore you bring the whole team up and you're able to kill the enemy at range. So, at least in team play, this could mean LRMs get even more cancerous than they were before.
And it's always fun to farm salt in a group of 10.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. I wonder, at least as mentioned before, if you help the heat of 5s, 10s, 15s, if those will start to creep up again. but for the most part, at least, just being able to fire those big, chunky LRM-20s over and over again till the end of time a lot better. It's going to be much more appealing to the prospective learn player.
Yeah. One thing I would like to mention as something positive PGI is doing, they started adding the explanation texts to stuff a couple months ago, if I recall. And they actually referencing the community proposal for the balance change design cheat thingy that was done. So I like that PGI is showing that they're actually listening to the community for once.
And even with these changes...
Even if they aren't following the proposal, but they're listening.
Yeah, I also like at least changes like this. They wrote up a veritable essay talking about their rationale for it. You don't necessarily have to agree with the rationale. I'm just saying it's very good to at least have a lot of reason given rather than almost none at all. Just like, I forget what the ghost heat changes, but they sort of said, oh, it's been overperforming, so we're kind of, reducing the amount you could fire. And that was, I think that was it. Like, it was fairly terse, at least for the radical changes they were doing, which didn't help. At least in my mind, it did feel kind of off the cuff. Whereas if they've written all this out, they've certainly at least put a lot of thought or time into it.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, though, there are changes to SRMs and streaks, in particular the SRM 6 and Streak 6 for both Clan and Inner Sphere.
Yay!
They are improving the heat and cooldown for all the weapons, except for Clan Streak 6, interestingly enough. So just heat improvement for that. But they are also increasing the amount of extra ghost heat you get if you fire more than, if you trigger the ghost heat penalty.
So basically what this means is you're going to be able to fire more often without necessarily taking more heat. It's actually exactly the same heat over time. So overall you're going to do slightly more damage as long as you stay within the ghost heat range. Which for me personally, I play the good old Splatterbolt a lot with 6 SRM6s on the catapult. And I personally really enjoy this, since I'm only firing 3 SRMs at a time anyway. So it's a pretty good buff for people who are used to operate from the ghost heat thingy. Yeah.
Because, well, even sometimes, at least when you play that, there's someone who's really weak and you just want to finish them with an alpha strike. That alpha strike is going to be extra toasty for you. In fact, you might not want alpha strike at all now. But the biggest reason they increase this heat penalty is obviously, as we mentioned before with Solaris, is Arctic Wolf and Huntsman both could take a crazy amount of SRM6s and fire them all at once and do a huge amount of damage to one component, then run away. And this,
I'd spend a minute cooling down.
Yes. So this heat penalty, I think, at least in terms of somewhat the design, it obviously, SRMs are in an odd place, at least even streaks in some regards, at least because most of the battles are engaging at somewhat mid-range. These are close range specialized weapons, and whilst they do have a little bit of an edge, they aren't fully worth the investment. But mass SRM has been a thing seen here and there, just because you have such a huge punch in that one go you do it. It has been worth the risk. Nothing that does make sense. You do want SRM6s or SRMs in general to actually be worth taking, just like SRM24 should be worthwhile. You shouldn't have to only take SRM48 or don't bother, at least in my mind. And so these heat changes and cooldown changes will go some way towards redressing the balance. I use a lot of, personally at least, I'm interested to see that streaks get the same benefits, because streaks at the moment, at least with the longer range meta, make SRMs, in my opinion, almost obsolete.
Yeah, and the fact that you don't have to actually lead your targets anymore, you just have to maintain a lock, makes it a little more useful.
Yeah, with engagements and taking much more longer ranges, a streak launcher, even in the Sphere streak launcher, if you buff up the range, you hit someone within 300 meters, and it's 100% accuracy. If you're trying to hit someone within 270, 300 meters with regular SRMs, it takes half a second, 0.7 of a second to actually travel there, and it splatters all over the place. So, Streak's at least 100% hit rate compared to SRMs, which might miss completely, and even if you get it on target, half of them are splattering all over the mech anyway, or missing the mech entirely.
This might bring a little extra life to the street clops. It ought to be really entertaining to see how that performs.
Extra life, because it didn't need enough already.
Yeah, it didn't. I'm more interested to see how this serves for mechs who take small numbers of SRM-6 launchers as a backup or additional weapon system. Well, that's where I'm really gonna be looking at this. Obviously, mass SRM-6 is still gonna be good, it's gonna be even better. Mass Streak 6 is obviously still gonna be even better. But the small numbers is where I think it's gonna be really interesting.
I will say I agree with PGI's reasoning also, by the way, at least. A lot of people will argue there's a lot of debate about SRM4s versus SRM6s, because the 4s are kind of the peak of DPS for tonnage invested, and also have a good spread. Whereas the 6s, they have a huge spread, they don't add that much DPS relative to the 4s, and it was built so that they had slightly better heat efficiency, but sometimes these SRM builds just wanted to burst people down in a short period of time, and SRM4s did the job a lot better. So emphasizing the heat efficiency of 6s and making them not so, kind of 50-50 on their advantage, boosting their advantage makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Because it makes a lot more sense to actually encourage people to invest into larger launchers, into those bigger launchers, rather than just if there's a buff across the board, then people just take more 4s nonetheless. Yeah, personally, at least, I'm most looking forward to the streaks being buffed, because I use a lot of streak 6s on a lot of mechs, and the heat was a bit of a problem. That's being reduced, and the cooldown is being reduced, which improves DPS. Streaks are all about DPS, and their DPS is being improved for for the same heat per second. So all my streak mechs with the streak 6s have just become a lot, or at least like 10% better or whatever.
Yep.
Now you can pull like 2200 damage in your streak clops now.
I could melt people's faces even faster with the streak clops. Yes. And the sad thing, at least with the streak buffs, is that pushes lights even further down.
Yeah, that is true.
All right, moving on though.
Speaking of stuff that happens faster.
ATM's volley duration has been reduced by 50%. All the ATMs have roughly like the same volley duration, or had the same volley duration and cooldown. So ATM 3s always felt a little bit puny, at least since it's sort of going, for firing 3 missiles. It's just kind of pew, pew, pew. Whereas obviously with a 12, you go pew, 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 pew. You're throwing a lot of them out in the same amount of time. ATM 3s, you do not see that much at all, but I've had a lot of fun with ATM 3s on certain mechs. Their biggest niche is at least Jenna 2C, Arctic Wolf 1, smaller clan mechs with lots of missile hardpoints, because you are paying extra tonnage for the bigger launchers. ATM 3s are somewhat the most tonnage efficient, not the best heat efficient, but the most tonnage efficient for ATMs. Firing a volley of 12 of them is still susceptible to. It's going to be susceptible to AMS nonetheless, but this will be encourage people a little bit more to take ATM 3s on their smaller mechs, hopefully.
Yeah, agreed.
And speaking of AMS,
the AMS ammo got increased and the laser AMS heat got slightly reduced, which is only logical to kind of help with the buffed LRM and also the buffed LRM ammo. Although I think by there you went some numbers and that's not quite equal, isn't it?
So AMS is getting 10% more ammo, so 2,000 to 2,200. as far as I'm aware, there's no way to buff AMS ammo with the skill tree, so you're always just stuck with that amount per ton. With laser AMS, its heat is being reduced by 5%, so it's 5% less toasty. But LRM's last patch, of course, got 33% more ammo. And even ATMs, Streaks, SRMs, they all get 17% more ammo. So there's a lot more missiles in each mech possibly being fired around. The whole point, at least, is with AMS, with taking the ammo, is how long you're able to keep your AMSs working. At least with the ammo-dependent ones. It's a matter of endurance. The missile mechs, of course, have gotten a roughly 15 to 20% buff to their endurance, and AMS mechs have only got 10%, leaving them behind, relatively speaking.
So, I'm really bad at math, as I have shown with the episode numbers. So please tell me, what kind of buff would AMS need to be balanced with the LRM buff?
To be balanced with the LRM buff, you do 33% extra ammo. So, let's see, it's 200 is every 10%, so you get 600 plus another 60, I think. So 2,660 rounds, roughly, for AMS to keep up with LRMs in particular.
Yeah, you go, people. That is math with Biter.
I would say, at the very least, to keep up with all, like, ATMs as well, getting roughly 15%, you should have 2,300 rounds. For a nice round number, I would just say 2,500 sounds like a nice number to go with. This is a very cautious improvement to AMS.
I agree.
I'm not I'm confused why they didn't just improve AMS ammo initially when they did the ammo buff to all the weapons. They said the ammo buff was to help stock mechs, but stock mechs don't include clan mechs, which got the buff anyway, and stock mechs doesn't include racks, which got the buff anyway. Stock mechs typically don't. I don't think many of them have AMS, if at all any. But
I don't think any comes with AMS stock.
Yeah, they don't come with AMS. So, but I don't see why they didn't just get a buff as well to catch up. But
let's be completely honest. PGI didn't think about it. Period.
Yes, that one was much more rushed. Like, that's the kind of time where they just put a little couple of lines and they just like, oh yeah, we're going to do this thing now.
Yeah.
You can see the level of thought put into it.
Okay, so for the last thing, bug fixes and improvements, is there anything in there that stood out to you guys?
Yeah, so they're for events, they'll be able to track, when you do, they'll be able to track, I think now, weapon categories. Mm-hmm. So just do X amount damage with energy weapons. Like clan energy weapons, innosphere energy weapons. Because before, if you remember when they did like the DACA challenge, where you had to do so much damage with the AC2, 5, 10, 20.
Mm-hmm.
They did that because they could just say do 1,000 damage with DACA. They didn't have their system couldn't handle, you could just write that in. Which is why they made everyone have to do one of each type of weapon, which was really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So every little step along the way to make more variety or make events more simple, because really you just want to encourage people to go into their energy boat, their missile boat, their DACA boat, rather than going into their AC2 boat, their LB2 boat, etc., etc., like they did before.
Or the Annihilator, that has one of every weapon system.
I guess, yeah.
Just a really fun mech, by the way.
Yeah. Another fun thing, at least, is they're changing the spawns in River City for domination, and it shows the center point, if I'm not mistaken, in a different spot. What it means is one team starts basically kind of up around the airport on the other side of the bridge, I think. Well, mostly the airport, I think. Yeah, the airport. And the other team starts kind of by the Citadel and
like in the dock area.
Yeah, in the dock area. And the fighting point isn't around the Citadel, it's F6, I think it is, the water next to it. a much
the
more
rocks
central
in the middle.
location. Yeah. So this is going to completely change how domination will play on that map. At least I think it will, because before it was one team starts with the Citadel, one team doesn't, and the point is the Citadel, fight around the Citadel. Oh boy, I love fighting around the Citadel. I always do it on River City. Everyone always does it in River City. Let's encourage them to fight on the Citadel again. This time though, yeah, it's right slap dab in the middle. That middle area, it's really awkward for cover. There's rocks and stuff, like, you know, a light mech can hide there, maybe a bigger mech, but it's not like the Citadel where both teams can get quite close to each other and not see each other. This could get quite snipey. It could get quite flanky. I'll be interested to play these maps and see just how annoyed everyone is from not like walking to the Citadel isn't the answer this time. What do we do?
No, something else I've noticed in the bug fixes is they've fixed some of the wording on the reinforced skill node.
Hmm?
No, they changed it from reduces the chance of critical hits by 1% to reduces the chance of critical hits by 1.5.
Oh, because they did effectively, or at least they claim that they changed that, and I swear it did say 1.5 before. Oh, I see. It's the information, the little pop-up box in the corner that tells you the extra details. I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Because the actual node shows 1.5, which is what I assume is the actual correct value. But the information box is being improved. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Small quality of life thing, but I know on a few of my mechs when I scroll through and look at all the stuff I've loaded in, it was like, some of those numbers don't look right.
Yeah. Oh, one other change, I think, that was for Solaris and also somewhat for Quick Play at the very top of the bug fixes is if players in Europe and Oceania are matched up together, instead of choosing just Europe or Oceania, where both of them have a really bad, where one party will have terrible connection, it just goes over to the North American. So they both have mediocre connection rather than one having good, one having bad.
That is actually really good.
For Solaris in particular, that is a huge benefit. Both of you have an equally mediocre laggy experience, rather than one, having it pitch perfect and one being super laggy, which could probably be really annoying.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of wraps up the patch notes for patch of July. You guys got anything to add?
Yeah, I think so. Have you guys looked at at least the comments for this patch notes?
I have not, but I would expect a lot of salt.
Yeah, it's a lot of like your particular experience in the PTS.
Yeah.
Just pages and pages of love, pure love for PGI and their buffs to LRMs. Oh boy.
It starts out with a meme. Okay, yep.
It starts with the first post. That's hysterical.
Amazing.
I wish I had PGI's innate skill for farming salt. I wouldn't have to be a dick.
This is just to go on previous conversations I had before, at least in terms of PR with PGI. Get public relations. Nerfs hurt twice as much as buffs feel nice. This patch actually is only bringing buffs. That's good. I'm really looking forward to like the SRM6 and Streak buff, and somewhat to the LRM buff personally. But obviously, people are A, salty about the laser nerfs that they're proposing, and then B, they're buffing lock-on weapons like Streaks and LRMs, the types of weapons that people most dislike in the game. So even though they're doing a nice thing this time and actually improving a weapon system, it's ironically at least having the opposite effect, which is so sad and tragic in a way.
Yeah. Okay, I need to read through those comments post the recording. This is hilarious.
Yes, it's a sight to behold. I think to some degree as well, but the PTS comment sections were quite good as well. But this patch, because of the PTS, the laser nerfs, and the alarm buffs, it's just bringing out the best in people.
Yeah, the absolute best. So speaking of the absolute best, do you know who else is the absolute best? A champion.
Yeah.
Come on, that was good. Come on.
Yes.
No.
Please don't quit your day job.
Good segue.
Alright, I'm going to shut up then.
Because the new Mech PGI has announced. It's a Clan Omni Mech. Wink, wink. That's minus 60 tons. Am I triggering you yet, Ian?
I'm just gonna let you roll with it, and then I will flame you afterwards.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's an Indosphere battle mech, 60 tons. I think a lot of people like this mech from previous games. I'm not that interested in it, honestly.
Okay. Well, let me give you some nostalgia then. The champion was one of the mid-game mechs in the title Mechwarrior 3, and it was kinda underused, I think, in multiplayer, but it was a really fun mech, and of course PGI is milking more of the nostalgia, and I have already bought it, because obviously nostalgia. So, I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
You guys go ahead and discuss it.
The only mech I'm kind of interested in is the hero. That's because I can put four missiles on it. Other than that, the entire thing is like.
The mech in terms of hard points is a lot of side torso and kind of center torso, I guess, but it's all torso mounted weapons. At best, you have one energy in the arms, one energy, one missile in each arm for the hero. That one's the special snowflake of the group. And
let's quickly discuss which of the packs would you recommend getting, if at all.
So the question is, with these hard points, what's it going for? What does it do? Well, it has a whole mix of different hard points, just kind of like the bushy in a way, but even more restrictive. So you'll have, on the one that you can do the special variant on, I think the 1N, it's 2 missile, 2 energy in the side torso, 2 ballistic in the upper torso, and 2 energy in the center torso. Which means, for the most part, even if you want to do something like an XL or light engine or whatever, you're going like an LB10, a big ballistic and a big missile, MRM40, LB10, whatever, something like that. You could go a huge MRM build, but it's kind of odd on one side. You have to fit all the missiles on one side, you have to fit all the ballistics in one side. So they're encouraging a lot of mixed builds, kind of. I think, for the most part, at least looking at it, the standard pack gets you most of what you want already.
Yes.
The thing with a ballistic side torso, if you have 1 hard point, 2 hard point, 3 hard point, or even 4 hard point, in the end you're just going to put it in a heavy goose or an AC-20 or, maybe 3 rack 2s at best. But for the most part, you only really need 1 for the big ballistic. Same with missiles. At most, you're getting in the side torsos 2 missile. Well, what are you going to do with 2 missile? Well, obviously 2 SRM2. MRMs, of course. So you're really limited, and it doesn't really matter if you have too much. If you have 1 or 2 missile hardpoints, so all that's left is a couple of energies, and that's you just chuck in a couple of medium lasers, particularly since a lot of them are stuck in the CT. So I just say pick up the standard pack. There's no ECM, there's no mask, there's no jump jets except on the hero. Oh, okay. So yeah, standard pack may be the hero because the hero has special arm tech and special jump jet tech.
Yeah, that statement I would 100% agree with. The reinforcement pack, in my opinion, doesn't add anything that's really interesting. Like as Spider said, what you're gonna do with 4 ballistics? Like 4 machine guns with
4 machine guns and 4 medium pulse lasers, because why not?
And max engine.
Yeah, nah. So yeah, standard pack for me. That's what I bought, and I might get the hero.
I will say the Champion 3N will probably be the overperformer of the bunch, other than the hero maybe. It comes stock with an XL300. It doesn't have endo, but it has ferrofibrous, and it comes with double heat sinks. It also has 6 energy hard points, 4 of which are in the side torso and center torso, so they're all kind of in the same firing line.
Okay.
Yeah, they can be slightly better, but I think for now, if you're really interested in the mech, pick up just the standard pack. You get the pre-order bonuses. Wait until we see the quirks, and when the mech is just about to come out, and then you could buy the hero and the reinforcement. Even after you've actually tried the mech out and enjoyed it, then you could pick up the extras.
Yes.
If you really want them.
That is very much the way to go. Although I do admit the fact that the hero has jump jets makes it very much attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish the AMS was in the head, not the arm.
I guess the problem with the head AMS is it means you have to use the ammo-dependent one.
Yeah.
For inner sphere. So...
Like, torso, yes, head, no. I don't like head AMS.
I just kind of dislike that it's all on its lonesome out in the left arm.
Well, the left arm has to have some use.
You mean being the shield for NASCAR?
I guess so. Yeah, it would be better if it's in the right arm on average. But I also like at least the champion is going to lead to so much confusion when it comes out. At least in some regards, because it's what do you call it the champion? When will the champion mech come out?
Probably a year after release. So
yeah, it's just every time you talk about, I'm thinking of picking up the champion, and then someone goes, okay, do you mean the XP boosted one or the inner sphere mech?
I have not thought about that. That is hilarious.
It's just like a D&D where it's like, I don't know, you're talking about going up or down a level. So I'm gonna gain a level, but we got to go downstairs a level, and I've gained a spell level. Oh, this thing! I don't know. This great opportunity for puns when it comes out.
Definitely. So, anything else that's outstanding from the mech from your side?
I wish there was a bit more variance in terms of at least engine size, because they're all so samey. All of them just have 360 engine cap, and 360 engine cap is already one of the most mundane engine caps for Inner Sphere. We're talking, the Champion, Dragon, Quick Draw, Black Knight, Marauder, Orion, and Thanatos all have a 360 engine cap. And that's just for heavies. I mean, mediums, you have the Bushwhacker, Griffin, Kintaro, Shadowhawk, Wolverine, and Assaults, you have the Atlas and King Crab. There's so many mechs that have max cap of 360, and sure, you're not actually going to take a 360, but I wish there were some with, had an engine cap of 300, and that would have slightly better, hard points or stats or something, to make it so you have to have some trade-offs with this mech.
Make the trade out real, kind of like with the Marauder 2C, where the only one with ECM has the smaller engine cap.
Yeah, exactly. The different engine sizes can help make the lineup feel different. All it is here, though, is just slightly different numbers of the missile and ballistic hard points or energy hard points.
Okay. So I guess let's talk real quick about the pre-order bonus. Of course, we've got the standing mech, which is always pretty good. The Sherman, are you guys familiar with that one? Don't quite remember it.
Yeah, it's the Americans military-esque style paint job.
Ah, okay.
So the first two colors is kind of, like that standard camouflage thing. It's kind of like, I use the Sherman color scheme to paint my mechs like a cow, honestly, because you do white and black, and you got kind of blotchy cow complexion. And then the third color is a kind of a star and some little outlining details, that makes it kind of look militaristic-ish.
Okay.
It's not that too often seen, but I love the paint scheme to make your mech look like a cow, and you just cover up the military decals with something sillier, and you're good to go.
Perfect. So, I guess the decals are okay. Not my personal favorites.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if you're the guy who has to design all of these decals.
Yeah.
Every patch you have to come up at least with 2 new decals, and probably even more. It's just like, this guy must be so tired for ideas of what random stuff people could put on their mechs.
Mm-hmm. Then we've got, of course, the colors, which not extraordinary, but okay, I guess. And the currency is pretty good as usual.
Yeah. It's the usual affair with PGI and their mech packs. $20 for the standard pack, 30 days premium time.
I'm still waiting for the bonus mech.
Yeah, I wish the ultimate pack was just slightly on discount to encourage people to
Discount
pick up all the bits and
bonus
pieces.
mech or anything. PGI, please.
Because I've not been too impressed with the last few packs. The Incubus, Vulcan, Champion. Ugh.
Yeah, I think actually the Champion is the first mech out of the last 4 or 5 I've picked up. Because, again, nostalgia, but yeah, not impressed as well.
I will say at least the hero's paint job, if they transfer it from design to game, will look pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say actually on the art front, yeah, that promotional image, I don't know, it looks like a plasticky toy.
It looks like a Macross jet fighter.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just, it doesn't sort of have the grit on it like a roughneck or something would. I don't know, it just, I want my own little plastic toy with these huge comedic arms that have no purpose.
They look pretty.
What are those arms? They're shovels. I don't know.
I don't know. They look pretty.
I swear that's for the landing gear hide.
This mech is weird. I don't know. I just I'm tempted a bit, but with the hard points, just messing around with it. But the artwork is one of the things that just personally, at least, doesn't sell me on it. Like that cockpit comes out really far. Does that mean I'm going to get headshot all the time, or is that going to be a center torso? Like because the cockpit is so large, I'm starting to ask questions. All right, though.
At least it'll be good for shooting down UAVs with all those non-arm mounted lasers.
Wow.
Just have to try and use your laser AMS. Shoot them down.
Or hold blocks for LRMs.
Yeah. All right. So I think that about wraps us up for today, right?
That does indeed.
All right. Well, that was the first Circuit Podcast, episode 9000, with me, Biter, and
It's 47, by the way.
Bye, everybody.
And
Bye.
Ian.
Bye and bye.
All right. See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.